Hello, I'm here to introduce Gallaupaig's Georgia Experience, which is a comprehensive curriculum for social studies in grades 3 through 8 here in the state of Georgia. So let's get right into it. First of all is the student workbook. The student workbook is the meat and potatoes of Gallaupaig's Georgia Experience. Now I know it just looks like a teeny little book, and it is. It's not some big huge textbook. And that's good because a lot of kids, when they see a big huge textbook and lots of distractions, they don't really read it too well, whereas this is straightforward, to the point. Little bites, little chunks, so that kids who may or may not be reading at top level can read through the social studies and gain comprehension. We've also updated our books for this year to include Common Core writing prompts and other Common Core types of exercises, because we know that Common Core is important here now. I'd like to show you next the Teacher's Edition. The Teacher's Edition is basically what you would think of any TE. This side right here shows you the answers, and this side right here shows you where all the different materials go, so that you know that right here, this goes right here. You know that there's a suggestion for a writing topic. This goes right here. Vocabulary, etc., etc. So that any teacher, whether they're well-versed in social studies or not, will know how to teach and where all these materials go. I'd like to show you the vocabulary. The vocabulary has two books. This is the teacher version, and this is the student version. Now, we've not done anything with vocabulary that's revolutionary. It's look at the word, recognize the word, pronounce the word, understand the definition, use it in the context of a sentence. But we've taken words that are especially relevant to the standards. In other words, what I like to say is start out with the vocabulary, because once the kids understand the terms, then they can more easily understand the concepts. I always suggest to people that you take the vocabulary portion and pull it out of your social studies section and put it in your ELA section. That way kids can learn the words from social studies in ELA during that massive time that you have for ELA, and that way when you get to social studies, they've already learned some of the terminology that will make learning more easy. I'd like to show you these interactive readers. Now these are paper readers that are designed to be interactive, and they're not like most readers. First of all, they're all of the biographies that are in the GPS. So you'll know that when you go through these readers, you've addressed all of the biographies. And they're interactive. You do a little bit of reading and then there's a word search. You do a little bit of reading and then there's a math activity. And then there's something that deals with codes and all sorts of different activities that keep the kids engaged. It's not like, oh, I'm reading a biography and there's all these words and there's really nothing to it. Whereas these biographies are interactive and they keep the kids engaged and on point. I'd like to talk to you next about our enrichment packs. Now, our enrichments are basically one-sheeters, as you see here, this one on Ponce de Leon. They're written at a little higher reading level than our workbooks, and they've even got some higher order thinking questions on the bottom to engage your kids with higher order thinking questions. One way that I always suggest to my teachers out there how to implement these in the classroom. Let's say you got a kid that performs at a little higher reading level. He finishes early, or she finishes early, and you have them do the enrichment. Say, hey, write down 10 facts about Ponce de Leon. And then maybe there's 2 or 3 other kids that don't perform at higher level. Maybe they need a little extra help. Maybe they're more challenging students. So you have the one kid that's already done the Ponce de Leon 10 facts, share those 10 facts with the other kids, and they sort of share the learning that way. Just one way to use the enrichment packs in your classroom. We also have our Blackline Masters. Blackline Masters are one-sheeters. I can actually open these up and maybe show them to you. But these are one-sheeters that are all reproducible. There's 3 different ways you can probably use these in the classroom. Number 1, let's say you didn't have time to write the test or get to the test, and you can use this as an assessment piece. Or number 2, perhaps that day you learned about Elizabeth Cady Stanton in the classroom. You copy these off and you give this one-sheeter, this Blackline Master, as a homework assignment. Or perhaps your classroom time was cut short and you have only 15 minutes and you introduce the concept that you may have learned 4, 5, 6 weeks ago and say, kids, remember when we learned about this person in history? Well, let's talk about it a little bit, and here's a little one-sheeter that we can work on right now. So there's 3 different ways to use the Blackline Master. We also have our visual aids that are online. These visual aids that you can use on any whiteboard, any HTML type friendly device. Just as a means of having a visual projection. If you know you have any visual learners in your classroom and it says in the TE, use this visual aid right here, I would take that visual aid and have it up on your whiteboard or whatever device you have in your classroom and project that up there the whole time. Because a kid may have that workbook right in front of them, but if he doesn't have that visual stimulation, they're not going to get tuned in. So our visual aids are an excellent way for kids to get tuned in. Our test prep is probably one of our most valuable aids that we have available to you in our materials. The test prep will allow you, and I allude to it right here just as a visual, but the test prep will allow you to assess the students by the standards themselves. So if it's SS5H1, the kid goes onto the online test prep and takes a test on that particular standard. I'd like to talk next about our 21st century skills in the classroom. Now this is a short little pamphlet that we have available to you, and these are really good ideas for project-based learning. And as a former teacher, I know that there are certain times a year which projects are, let's just say, an optimal opportunity. Say for example, between Thanksgiving and Christmas or the month of May. These are ideas that the kids have already learned lessons during the course of the year. And these are project-based learning ideas that you can expand upon as much as you would like to, especially during those times of the year which your time is perhaps compromised, during the Christmas holiday season and also at the end of the year. These are ideas that they've already learned about that they can implement and expand upon as much as they would like to. So these are really a lot of good project-based learning ideas with technology involved. Next are the Tech Connect tools. Now this is an online resources that you have available to you. In your Teacher's Edition, it will have references for the BYOT sort of activities that we have in there. So in your TE, you'll see where the Tech Connect goes, but you can also access it online. And if you and your students do access it online, you'll find things that will help with research and study, blogs, discussions, multimedia, mapping, all sorts of activities that will facilitate your BYOT needs. I'd like to talk to you next about primary sources. Now, we've collected primary sources on various topics by state and by topic. For example, here's one for the state of Georgia. Now, we realize that for you to come up with these primary sources is quite the task. So we've done all the digging in the archives so that you don't have to. And just an example that we have here comes from Georgia. And this is a photo or still, artist rendering, so to speak, of the building of the city of Savannah. Now, of course, for students to get a depth of knowledge of history and social studies topics, it's essential that they be able to put their hands on primary source documents and analyze them so they can have a better understanding and a deeper understanding of historical topics. We also have some Common Core activities that are separate from our workbook and other materials, in that we've developed a series of social studies and science Common Core books. Here we have one for the American Revolution, and it has various activities that include writing prompts, mapping, comparing and contrasting, all those sort of things that you associate. These are very affordable. You get them in a set of 24. They're reproducible. So from a value standpoint and from what you need in the classroom, Common Core, and it's very cheap. I think those go together. This is a very good product for you to have at your school. And of course, we do have those for science as well. 24 topics in social studies, 24 topics in science. Lastly, I'd like to talk a little bit about the Carol Marsh Mystery Series. And we have here one for the Liberty Bell Mystery. Now, for those of you not familiar with Carol Marsh Mysteries, it's a series of characters that go from one place to another. They're largely historical topics, so that falls in line with social studies. And this is also something that they can read for their nonfiction. Now, many of these books, like the Liberty Bell, has a teacher's guide that goes along with it. So you're not just blindly saying, well, let's just read this book. It provides you with a teacher's guide that will actually walk you through the process of using the Carol Marsh Mysteries in your classroom for social studies and for reading and language arts.